Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
virtualization and cloud talk.
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
Broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos.
A Microsoft MVP, Citrix Charter CTP, VMware vEXPERT.
And your host, Douglas Brown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DABCC Radio. We have a great episode for you today. I'm really excited to have Christiaan Brinkhoff from Microsoft with us. And Christiaan's a longtime community guy, and he's a good guy. I've known him since he got into this community, and every time I see him, we always have great conversations. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what becomes of this conversation. And of course, WVD as well. It's as big as it gets, right? So we're going to learn about what's new. And what else do I say? But let's dive into my interview on WVD with Christiaan Brinkhoff. Okay, Christiaan, thank you so much for taking the time to come do this with us, with me. I'm really looking forward to this. It's you've never been on a podcast. I mean, we did the one with the VDI Like a Pro, but we've never done one-on-one, have we?
No. This is definitely a great moment to be first with you one-to-one on a podcast. We obviously chat a lot of hours and days, and I don't know, I cannot count them, but having a podcast, that's a great momentum right now. So that one goes in the books.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it too. I've known you for quite some time, and it's always, whenever we chat, it's always a good chat and a long chat. So let's see what we end up with this. This will probably be very boring.
Yes,
it's never right?
Yeah, to be honest, before we started this recording, we already had one great chat. So Let's see how far we can go.
Yeah. Those chats, I always say the chats at the beginning and the end, sometimes those are the what I should release, like retire and release all those after, but I'd probably piss off a lot of people. Wait a second, that was private. But,
yeah, well, just going into the storyline and you cut it off. So let's make this a good storyline and finish up as a natural moment.
Well, we have a great topic today, so we're going to talk about WVD. And I mean, I've been in this industry in a long time, and within the remoting side, there's nothing been anything like what WVD is, taking the world by storm. So this is great. So before we get ahead of ourselves, for those who might not know who you are, can you tell us a bit about who you are? What do you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Christiaan Brinkhoff. I work for Microsoft as a global black belt, senior technology specialist for Windows Virtual Desktop. So a lot of things that I do as well. So let's, for example, say this podcast, but as well other community work is something I do as a side job. And before I joined Microsoft, I was part of AvisLogix. And as you probably know, AvisLogix is acquired by Microsoft in November 2018. That was the moment I joined the company. And AvisLogix, the products of AvisLogix are like the fundament of profile delivery and application delivery of Windows Virtual Desktop. So it's a great fit, and everything like industry knowledge as well as the product, everything comes together now in Windows Virtual Desktop. So it's a great momentum to be part of Microsoft and being part of that new energy, that like storm that flows through the company that Satya Nadella created, like when he shifted from Steve Ballmer as CEO. So.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Did you ever think 10 years ago you would be at Microsoft today?
Honestly, I don't think so. I did not experience like working for Steve Ballmer in depth or very close by like other employees that worked for Steve Ballmer, but knowing things that happened in the past and not having the freedom to talk about like other solutions or partner or think in the customer and the customer success, I don't think so. I really like how the company is structured right now, and being part of like a growing organization, like challenge yourself and think in what the customer wants. And if we cannot do it today, then we can do it probably in a couple of months, and we bring it back to like a roadmap or something. So really think into customer cases and making the customer a success, and help them really to guidance them to implement and not only sell product. That's something I really like and enjoy. Almost every day that I work for Microsoft.
That's awesome. That's how, that's funny that the way you describe that, challenge yourself, challenge everything, a customer is first, that sounds like Agile. That's what Jed says. I mean, that's exactly what Jed says. It's that's really cool. That's really cool. I'm a big fan of Ballmer. I think, at the time when Ballmer stepped down, of course he needed to step down. The world had changed, right? It was no longer these silo companies, right? And we did need to work with, you had the web, which brought everything together, right? So you did need to work with, let's say, Microsoft and Linux, right? Which is, in the Ballmer days, you would never imagine that, or Office running really well on the Mac or something, right? You would have never thought about that stuff in the Ballmer days. But Ballmer turned around and bought a sports team in cash, so he didn't do so bad for himself and for all of us. So
I definitely think that Steve Ballmer created from Microsoft the enterprise company that it is today. And when Satya Nadella went in and changed from CEO, I don't know if you read the book like Hit Refresh, but that was the moment when Satya hit the refresh button. So everything that was achieved on that moment, he refreshed that and put that growing mindset on top of that company and challenged everything that creates that positive vibe, new products, the Azure Cloud, and the disruptive way of doing as an example, Windows Virtual Desktop, but other products as well. The easiness and the efficiency of creating products, that movement, that change. That is something that Steve Ballmer started already, a little bit forced by the market, and we now sort of react to it in the cloud world. So I think that's a great momentum right now to be part of Microsoft and work for a company that is having a great leadership on top. So
you got it. No, I feel the exact same way about Agile, 100%. And but I mean, it's great. And you see this a lot with other companies. Microsoft's not unique in this sense, where they had a great leader to start with, someone that took the company a long ways, but that the world changed. This is how I see it. The world changed. The world changed. It just, things happened in a different way. Challenge everything. Be disruptive. It's something Jed talks about. Disrupt and so you bring in that leader that has that mentality, and then they can take it to the next level, third stage, fourth stage, whatever. Being in the company, right? The size or the age growth of the company. It's quite phenomenal. It's quite interesting to see it. Microsoft, I've been following Microsoft since I was a tiny little boy, and I saw Bill Gates in the back of a magazine that looked about like what I did at the time, little nerdy boy, right? And to see, them the biggest company in the world.
Yeah, but the story is great to read on the internet or Wikipedia and the crow that or the vision of Microsoft in the beginning was a computer on every desk and in every home, and that was a very clear message, and it was achievable, but it's mainly a target kind of vision. And what Satya is doing is he believes in making the company more driven by purpose, more okay, this is what you need. I don't know if you read the book from Simon Sinek, Start with Why, as an example.
Yeah.
That kind of vision, okay, why are you doing this? And that is the new Microsoft. So why are you doing this? Why are you building this? And not okay, this is what we want to achieve and how we do it. That doesn't matter if we reach the goal. And that's a really change in culture in the company that I really like. So
I love it. Absolutely love it. So that's not even one of the questions I wanted to ask you, which is that we started down the path of having some fun. But can you tell us a bit about the history of WVD? And it's a lot like what you just said, is that you start off with this goal, and then it just the start with why happened, right? And it ended up now in this WVD. Can you maybe take us through some of the history of this thing and how we got to now?
So the history of WVD goes back in basically 1998, and that was the moment when obviously Windows 90 and 98 got released, but as well, Microsoft Windows-based Terminal Server 4.0 or Windows NT 4.0. The special thing about 4.0 was that included like the option to RDP into an machine in a physical at that moment a physical machine without like touching the display, and that was basically the start, the moment when RDP got released, got born and like available for everybody. And like over the moments, Citrix added their MetaFrame solution, and that evolved as well. And then at Windows Server 2008 R2, the shift from terminal services has been made to remote desktop services. And as we probably all know, remote desktop services as part of Windows Server is like the option to use like a desktop virtualization solution based on server-based computing. Citrix uses that as well for published applications, and VMware does the same. But in essence, the RDP protocol and as well like the mechanism of using the session host role as part of that Windows Server is coming from that moment, and that is still available till like Windows Server 2019, so we didn't remove that, but that is basically the traditional, like how you can do remote desktop services and terminal services in the past. And with Windows Virtual Desktop, all those components that you need to spin up, and as well all the evolvements on the RDP protocol and all the other improvements that we made, are changed from like, let's say, a web access and a gateway service, a brokering service, all those things that you normally build yourself and maintain yourself and install on top of a Windows server to establish like a desktop virtualization connection. That is all pre-built and managed for you in a service solution, in a platform service solution, or also known as a desktop as a service solution. So the easiness of using Windows Virtual Desktop is one, that you have that control plane that includes like that web gateway, brokering, all those services that you normally spin up yourself, all as a platform service, all as an cloud service and managed service solution, all automated and basically pre-built for you as part of the infrastructure that we as part of Azure manage for you. And underneath that, you have IaaS, infrastructure as a service. So on the IaaS level, you release yourself as well from hypervisor, storage, and networking effort and costs. So you are doing from like a traditional RDS or traditional VDI deployment, you do it completely different from the front end and as well as on the back end. So you are very efficient, and you can create and spin up your virtual machines very easily because of that as well, because all those effort that you normally do to create that environment, to make like a session possible from your endpoint, that's like already built for you. So you only have to create your images basically, and then you're good to go. So it's a very disruptive way, if we bring back that term of doing it. And as well, the licensing model and all the costs involved are very compelling as well. So it's a new wave in improving things that we did for a very long time in the past in a different and a more efficient way to help customers to make their lives easier while making the movement to the cloud, so Microsoft Azure as an example. So.
You got it. And I wanted to ask you about the architecture. You somewhat described that in your answer, but there's definitely more to it. And also at the same time, how is this different than, let's say, Citrix or VMware, running in the cloud?
So Citrix and VMware are obviously the number one and number two players in the field, as you know yourself. You have a Citrix background. Citrix has different stacks of products, and the current like Citrix virtual apps and desktops, the one that we know from like Platinum licenses and enterprise licenses from on-premises environments, that are basically in a comparison to RDS the same. So self-managed, you need to build your own control plane that includes like that brokering, the desktop delivery controller, storefront, all those services yourself, and as well the NetScaler, obviously. Citrix has as well a similar service that is comparable to the Windows Virtual Desktop service, and that's Citrix Cloud. So with Citrix Cloud, you can do the same things in terms of the benefits of releasing you from that control plane effort and management and maintaining effort, and the same for VMware. So as part of the Windows Virtual Desktop service itself, VMware and Citrix can have the same benefits as part of the partnership as well with the control plane offering that they do with Citrix Cloud and VMware Horizon Cloud. And basically, if you are a Citrix customer and you want to make the move to Windows Virtual Desktop, either it's like native or it is Citrix or VMware, we can offer all the like exclusive offerings like Windows 10 multi-session as a great example of that, which is like an operating system based on Windows 10, but gives you the experience of Windows 10, but gives you the multi-session benefits of Windows Server as an example, all combined in one. And that is an exclusive offering for Windows Virtual Desktop. You can only use it on Azure, but you can use it as well with Citrix Cloud, Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops, or Citrix Managed Service, or with VMware Horizon Cloud. So we are not competing on any level with Citrix or VMware. It's just a different motion in making things available for the partners and making the shift to Microsoft Azure to do the management tasks, as well as the releasement and the simplification of your hypervisor, networking storage layer, and as well your front end, your control plane. So as I said, comparison from the past, it's basically the shift going into a cloud managed service model that is very important in this time frame. We see customers asking for different things. So we see the movement in the releasement of the front end and as well as the back end, but we see some customers asking as well in the need for completely release them from management. So as well like images or application delivery. So companies are, as I talked with a lot of like enterprises, they want to go to like one cloud vendor or one like partner, and that partner must include like all the services that they want to manage and maintain. They want to have one stop shop for services, for like where they create tickets, where they need to get help. So that like process of the move from traditional with a lot of partners involved, that is the process that I see very often that companies decide to follow in the shift to Microsoft Azure. And then Windows Virtual Desktop is a great example, but you can bring in partners on the Azure platform as well. But the difference is that partner on the Azure platform is mainly already like, if you call it like cloudified, that they already made the shift to the cloud. So they bring as well the same like SLA, like managed service model to Azure. So you release yourself from the same like effort of managing and maintaining that environment. However, with the same level of extra add value stuff that you get as part of that partner as well from a traditional environment implementation of VDI, as well as on Azure. So there's no real like shift in skipping Citrix or VMware. We obviously have a lot of customers that say, okay, Windows Virtual Desktop is so much evolved from what RDS was back in the days. There's like Windows 10 single session use cases are possible. All those things together made them decide to go for Windows Virtual Desktop native. So that makes them move from potentially Citrix or VMware to Windows Virtual Desktop. But the vast majority that is using Citrix today, they have like portals or components that they use, or integration with applications or redirection of things that work better with Citrix for their organization. And they can still use Citrix as part of Citrix Cloud and Azure and have the benefits of Windows Virtual Desktop all together in one, and have the same benefits on the managed service level as well. So it's, as I said, a great momentum and a refreshment of the market of what we did in the past like 20 years in a new like cloud like jacket flavor.
That makes sense. Makes total sense. So, are there areas where WVD or the Azure platform, as you sort of describe it, right? Depending on what what's sitting on top of it, Citrix, VMware, like you said, are there instances where this just is not a good idea, not a good use case?
Yeah, everything depends on the use case, right? So one of the biggest ask that we see that comes from like government organizations or organizations that are have the need to work offline, as an example. So currently, Windows Virtual Desktop requires to have an internet connection because the control plane runs on Azure, and that's connected via the internet to the control plane to set up your session. So if you are an organization that that works completely isolated offline, that's not possible today with Windows Virtual Desktop. So that are use cases that we look into right now, and maybe we'll change in the future to have like sort of like an offline connection available, or work through private links or something like that that are available in Azure, and then work through an express route to consolidate your traffic only internally. But right now that's not possible. So if you have like a need for a completely offline workload, then Windows Virtual Desktop isn't a good fit. So Windows Virtual Desktop Native itself is an Azure only service. So Windows 10 multi-session and Windows 10 single session, all those licensing benefits that you get as part of Microsoft 365, E3 or E5 or any other like licensing model that we support are only applicable on Azure. So if you want to go hybrid and you want to connect to on-prem and as well to Azure from one like single pane of glass log on portal dashboard, Windows Virtual Desktop Native doesn't support that. So we obviously can connect through on-prem with an express route, site-to-site VPN or SD-WAN or any other third-party solution. But the desktops itself, as part of Windows Virtual Desktop Native, cannot reside on-prem. So therefore, you can bring in like partners like Citrix or VMware that can do that through their host connection or zone configuration, and then you can bring all those like applications and as well virtual desktops together in one portal. And that could be a good reason to bring in a partner as well to create that single pane of glass like workspace portals that they call it, and we see a great motion and interest in that as well, because a workspace portal is a great fit for the end user to have like one-stop shop as well for their remote applications, for their published applications, as well as their desktops, whether they are like on-prem or in Azure. So that would probably be the best two answers to what is not possible right now, maybe in the future, and what is possible with partners and not with Windows Virtual Desktop Native.
Makes sense. I heard some, or I saw a press release or an article, blog article about the stack, Azure Stack, WVD Stack. Can you talk a bit about that? What is this? Is this real?
Yeah, that's real. So that's only available in a public or in a private preview, not in a public preview. So that's the reason why I'm a little bit sensitive in talking about it. But at Ignite, we released, or not officially released to public, but we released a private preview that you can use Azure Stack as well in your on-premises environment for like doing like the IaaS level that you do normally on Azure in your on-premises private cloud data center, and that gives you the rights to spin up like images like Windows 10 multi-session, or even Windows 7 with 3 years extended security updates for free if you are licensed for Windows Virtual Desktop in your own data center, and benefit from like the low latency of your backend that is still active in your own like data center environment. One of the things that is like something that you need to be aware of is that you will always connect to the control plane as well with that stack environment. It's Azure Stack Hub, by the way. It's not Azure Stack itself. So we split it Azure Stack in Azure Stack Hub and HCI since Ignite last year, and that means is that you, as I said, you can put your Azure Stack Hub instance in your own data center, but the control plane, all those services reside in Azure. So it's a combination of both worlds, and that's currently in a private preview. So it's not possible to sign up for that anymore, but that's real. So if the demand and every customer is willing to proceed and use that, we will move into public preview as well, and then eventually GA. And that is like a partly partly offline scenario, let's say it like that. So you can benefit from the low latency of your backend while not like moving like essential like backend services to Azure yet, or because of regulation, you can just leave them in your own like on-premises environment and benefit from the control plane as well. So yeah, that's definitely something that is real. But yeah, that requires an Azure Stack Hub instance as well to use, and not every customer has that currently in their data center. So therefore, you could as well use like Citrix or VMware to proceed with that hybrid connection and benefit from similar latency connection benefits as I just explained. So.
Makes sense. Use cases, we've talked a bit about those, and it's always, like you said, it always comes down upon the use case. And nowadays, because of, everyone knows we're all working from home nowadays, and this coronavirus thing is pretty interesting to say the least. Can you maybe talk a bit about the growth statistics you guys are having, right, in the work from home use case, and that's, I imagine that's driving the growth statistics, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm part of that GBB team, as I just explained, in EMEA, and yeah, before COVID-19 hit in Europe, so first in Italy, obviously, and then in the other countries, then we talk about like 6-7 weeks back from now, and that was a moment then that the team at that moment already was like pretty busy, because the interest in this service was already like way more than expected and very positive, and the team was already like at a certain level that they cannot get like more customers, because that could cause like delay of other customers to treat them in the same like manner as we normally do. And at that moment, COVID-19 hit in, and all of a sudden, every customer that want to enable work from home and want to like publish the applications with a remote app approach to make them available for remote working, because they don't have a VPN in place or something to establish that. They started to use Windows Virtual Desktop as their solution. So what we saw in like the first week of March till like a week back is that the increasement of the resources of daily active users increased with 3 times more than before Corona hit in, just by enabling customers to work from home, or with like jobs that are urgent to do, that get priority for workloads. All those things are extremely positive for Windows Virtual Desktop, because what I think as well, but because I received this question more, is that the simplicity of spinning up Windows Virtual Desktop session host, or Windows 10 multi-session VMs to establish connections via the control plane. You can all do that with an Azure subscription. So you don't need to sign up for a trial, or you need to contact your Microsoft sales representative or something like that. If you are in an emergency situation and you want to get up to speed with like 10,000 of your employees, and you don't have a remoting solution, or your VPN is not capable to establish all those connections as through that pipeline of internet throughput that you have, then Windows Virtual Desktop can just be spinned up in like a couple of hours. You just go to the Azure Marketplace, and you select the amount of machines that you want to spin up, and then after that you install, either before or after you install your applications, or you just use it for Office 365 purposes, and the connection to your on-prem environment as a sort of jump box that's possible as well. That is increasing so much like interest in this Windows Virtual Desktop service, and that actually that number 3 times more is actually way more than that we published on that article that you alluded to. And if we talk about like Teams, for example, the number of Teams, the daily active users, I think we reached the 900 million meeting and calling minutes on a daily like single week daily daily activity, and that's like, yeah, without Teams, it's probably for a lot of companies impossible to work and to continue work today. So that combination of Windows Virtual Desktop and Teams were the top two, yeah, increasements in resources on the Azure platform before and after, or before and during COVID-19, and in terms of cloud services, we saw 775% of increasements in just cloud services in general in the regions of Azure. So yeah, it's amazing to to see that increasement, but as well a great like accomplishment of giving like customers a solution for that, and a stable solution as well, because the numbers that are active on the platform were not calculated up front to get on the platform this year. So the stability of the service and the scalability of the service definitely succeed the test of getting that extra interest and demand coming in due to or COVID-19 to the coronavirus outcome, and the result of the extra need for a platform like this. So yeah, it's amazing, and being part of a company that established work and make it possible to work from home and enable like healthcare organizations while being in this situation to basically cure people from COVID-19, from the coronavirus. Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, the moment like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, when we were in that like moment, that the increasement of extra resources and Windows Virtual Desktop increased, and like Italy as an example was on fire, and a lot of companies were screaming for help. Yeah, from an help consultancy perspective, yeah, that were probably the most intense working days in my life. So I worked from 8 in the morning till like 11, 12 in the evening, just to help people and companies to establish and to help the field as well, to enable them for remote working. And yeah, looking back after like 2 weeks now to that like 3 weeks in a row in that like pace of getting all those like customers up to speed, gives you a very good feeling, because you definitely helped customers in continue working from home, continuing business, and doing businesses that are like vital, or like retail companies that deliver groceries at home as a great example. Yeah, that needs to be happen, or that is important to continue happening during this scenario. And yeah, with this technology, you can make that happen very easily. And yeah, that gives you an extra level of intensity of your job. Doing your job is one thing. Working for great technology is the second thing that is important. But the third thing, doing great things for like the government, for for citizens in your country or in Europe. That's a way higher level of intensity that you can get out of your work. So
you got it. No, I find it very somewhat bittersweet, right? I've been doing remoting like you have for quite some time, and we've talked about this being, hey, this is a better way to compute. This will help you in this scenario, this scenario. But it takes something like this for people to say, okay, this is, and then we hear a lot about the new normal, so it's sweet that people are coming on to this and that we're able to help them, but it's very bitter that the fact that, people are so affected by it, and there's so many, tragic stories left and right that don't need to be, talked about in this podcast. But it's interesting, and at the same time, I work for IGEL, and from the front end, we feel the same way, right? Where we have our little UD Pocket or our piece of software, our operating system, right? That folks are just saying, hey, you know what? We're working from home. We need to go and put 10,000 new existing employees, and get them to work tomorrow. How do we do this? Ship them this little USB stick, plug that in, and then connect to, let's say, WVD or their existing back end, right? So we've been crazy busy. And it does give us, one, it's great that we're crazy busy from a financial perspective, from a growth perspective, but the piece that Jed talks about and we all feel within the company is that we're helping people too. But yet then you sort of have that bittersweet feeling. It's like, I don't want to be happy that we're, because it's a bad situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if you're a company, you take advantage of this momentum and raise your licensing pricing or I don't know, put on marketing based on this just to get more revenue. I think that's not that's not a right strategy and a very bad strategy as well, in my opinion. So we obviously I recommended some customers as well to use other solutions, like if a customer had an on-prem environment, just to increase their resources there, just to enable them without even touching Windows Virtual Desktop or Azure. So that were some of the use cases that I helped as well. So that really reflects that customer thinking way of doing it, instead of forcing people just to go to Windows Virtual Desktop. And that's the same type of questions that you probably receive as well during this. As you can increase or you can enable a VPN connection to your corporate environment, but if you do that, you still have to first of all, if you set up a VPN, you most likely set up a VPN to your complete corporate network. So from a security standpoint, you allow that laptop or desktop computer, you allow that to your complete environment. And if you have a not very secure endpoint and you have a virus or an intruder or something like that could infect your complete corporate network. So from a security standpoint, you are not isolating only what you need. And with a desktop virtualization solution like Windows Virtual Desktop, you basically publish a desktop or remote app or an application to the end user, and you only do that, and you do it consolidated from Azure, and you can add multi-factor authentication on top of that, or conditional access, and that's a very easy way to secure your environment for remote working, and that's not what every customer sees or knows, because in an emergency situation, the fastest way is very compelling to choose. But on the longer term, we see a lot of customers that choose for Windows for Desktop exactly for that reason, to consolidate and to enable remote work, as well, that they keep using it after COVID-19, because they are convinced about it and they want to. Either it's an remote working use case, or they just want to replace some physical computers as well with virtual computers, because they want to benefit from centralized image management, or the easiness of doing image management or application delivery, all consolidated from Azure. So all those things together is, as I said, a great motion, and keeps and puts desktop virtualization back on where it belongs. It's important. It's an important technology, but in the past it was always seen as complex and very cost involved, so very expensive to use for your business. And with Windows Virtual Desktop, the licensing model increases the price, and as well, because you use Windows Virtual Desktop on Azure, you get a discount as well, because you don't pay for the operating system license. And if you use Windows 10 single or multi-session, you don't pay for the RDS call anymore. So a lot of savings on pricing because of that, and releasing you from that control plane, that front end and that back end, releases you as well from extra knowledge to build it. So I definitely think that is as well that motion that you see, that a lot of customers move to Windows Virtual Desktop, because they see the easiness of that procedure, and they just spin it up and compare that to the past. I think certain amount of partners or consultancy firms were able to do it, but the easiness of having just an Azure Marketplace offering and then spin that machines up. That's probably the most important reason why we saw the decreasement so much happening over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah. At first, remoting was a remote access solution. right? And sort of, I can work from home if I need to, and get into my machines or into my office or what have you. Um, but that's, in my opinion, long since gone. Of course, people, that's what they're somewhat using it today. But like you said, I hope it sticks around, and I hope it does too, because for me, it's always been a better way to compute. Like you said, image management. To me, it's one to many. Right. At the end of the day, it's simple as that. Is well, all the benefits are remote. I don't want to go down that path, but let's hope that happens, because this might not. Well, let's hope that's not the case, but be a unique issue. But yeah, what do you say? It's remoting, WVD, Citrix, Microsoft, VMware, any of these guys out there, from my perspective, is a better way to compute than putting this stuff on the desktop. That's sort of like, back to the bomber conversation, the old Microsoft versus new Microsoft. The old Microsoft would put a desktop on every computer. That made sense in the 80s. Today, it's provide resources anywhere, anyplace, anytime. And that's a better way to do it, right? And with all sorts of partners, and you name it.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up iGel, because I brought it up, and they who pay me, but on this podcast, it's not an iGel pitch, but I find it interesting though, because what you're talking about is a lot what we say, and our endpoint, as I said, addresses the ease, the quick rollout, the fact that we can go out to many different or in a day get people back up and running. I know Microsoft's worked a lot with iGel. Can you talk a bit about that relationship and what you guys see, and the public way of saying that?
Yeah, so Agile is still the only thin client vendor right now that supports like the Linux SDK that we recently released. So as you said yourself, Agile is very easy to use Agile as part of like a thin client with like the software pre-installed. But the great thing about Agile is that you can use it as well as part of a USB stick, and it sounds very unreal. But how it basically works is that you just put your USB stick in, you boot it from USB, and you have your Agile operating system, which supports the Windows Virtual Desktop client. And the great thing about that is that you can centralize manage that and put your corporate configuration set for Windows Virtual Desktop inside that USB stick before you send it to your employees. And they just put it in like their laptops or their desktop computers. They boot it from USB, and then they can just log on to their Windows Virtual Desktop corporate environment. So the easiness of doing that is very important in like in an emergency situation, because you don't want to, I don't know, order thin client hardware or want to wait for that. You just want to move fast and get up to speed very quickly. So that's a very important reason. And as well, if you want to make the shift to Windows Virtual Desktop in general, not mainly because of COVID-19, and you don't want to make hardware investment because, I don't know, maybe you bought like new thin clients a year ago or something, and you don't want to refresh them because the life cycle is still 2 years or 4 years before you need to
Longer.
fight a normal natural process, need to replace them. With that USB stick, you can just refurbish basically that thin client as well, and use them for Windows Virtual Desktop without any hardware investment. The only investment that you do is basically the USB stick and the software. So that's great technology. And as I said, the relationship of Agile goes back till I think it was Disrupt 2018 when Jet and some of our folks chatted together. And then the connection with the engineering team has been made, and shared like ideas and what the SDK must look like in terms of features with device redirection protocol, all those support. And then eventually, end of last year, we released the first preview version of the Linux SDK. And I must admit that Agile jumped on it and created so fast and a first like Windows Virtual Desktop client that they released on Disrupt this year in January in Nashville, where I was as well, and you as well, Doug, which was a great event, by the way. And that combination of the technology that Agile already had and bringing the Windows Virtual Desktop SDK in is a powerful combination. that is only possible with Agile as of today. So.
Yeah, it's a great partnership, and many more great things to come down that path. Definitely
Yeah.
check out both. That being said, boy, we can chat forever. What a competitor. So let's start closing this thing down. I always, my last two questions, almost always competitive landscape, competition in the future. So, I love what you guys are doing. The growth shows it's there for a reason. But there are competitors. Why should we care about what you're doing versus, the other folks out there?
So that's a very good question. So as you look back to Microsoft till when it like started, when Bill Gates started the company with Paul Allen, and till now, like Microsoft was always part of your company. Either it was your desktop or it was your desktop license, or it was your server license, and all those things will now come together into the Azure platform. As I said earlier, it's a disruptive way of doing it. And as part of that platform, so traditional like environments or customers that use their own private cloud data centers or managed by a partner, they want to leverage a public cloud and want to have that cloud as part of their one-stop shop. So if you look at different clouds, then obviously you have Amazon and you have Google Cloud as well. So from a cloud perspective, Microsoft wants to have their cloud as the best cloud possible, the most secure cloud possible, and as well as part of your Microsoft E3 or E5 licensing model. They want to release customers from complexity and as well bring all kinds of services together in one licensing model that you just pay as a subscription-based licensing model. And that new motion and that shift from perpetual to subscription, as well as from traditional data centers to public cloud data centers, that is the shift what customers want to see and want to leverage. And having a very compelling model in terms of licensing and pricing and all the extra benefits that you get as part of Microsoft, because as I said, operating system licenses, server licenses, all those things come together in one licensing model, and that's a very compelling way of doing IT today, and in comparison to traditional IT in the past, or as some customers still do today. If you compare it to other like cloud vendors, as I just named, that are, I don't know if you really can call it competitors, because I think we are in a better position to give customers a complete a storyline of products from the end user perspective as well as from the backend perspective. But if we want to name like a couple of competitors, then probably those two will be it. And as I said earlier, from a Windows for Desktop perspective, Citrix and VMware as an example, that are partners of us. So we have obviously more partners, but that are two partners that sometimes in the field, people, customers, partners, like normal partners see as like a competitive solution, but it isn't, basically, because those two solutions run on the Azure platform and simplify and absorb and embrace as well the licensing model, and as well everything around Azure of Windows for Desktop and the services around that. So if we look from a competitive standpoint, I only see maybe those two as a competitive solution, but that's more from a total like data center perspective, but not from a service levels perspective, because we can probably have like 2-3 more hours on what the differences are of those two services. But I see a lot of customers moving from those platforms to Azure because they are very convinced about the licensing model and the services and the extra exclusive things that they get as extra as part of Windows for Desktop. And to elaborate a little bit more on that is the vision of the company. If we take this from today to 1 or 2 years after today, so the modern desktop, or like Intune modern management, is one of the other pillars within Microsoft as well. Enterprise mobility, security, all those things are very important. So Azure AD is involved, and that is like the physical like PC market within Microsoft, which is like very important, very big as well. Windows Virtual Desktop addresses a lot of things that is beneficial to virtualizing your environment, but it can be a great combination between those two use cases as well. So I see a very powerful combination between like using Intune for your physical PCs. But what would it be if you can manage your virtual PCs and your physical PCs all by one in one single console in the Microsoft Endpoint Management Console? And whether it's like a physical desktop or a virtual desktop, it doesn't really matter. Your licensing model fits in for both scenarios, and the consoles are fitting in to simplify it from one single pane of glass. So that's like we call the North Star in the company. So that's like the goal in consolidating virtual and physical, and have Windows 10 single session and multi-session as two operating system pillars, like the main two operating systems that you use for that purpose. And consolidating all those services that we already have for physical PCs as well with virtual PCs. So that would be the next big great motion that you will see in Windows Virtual Desktop after we will release next month the new management portal, which is a long-awaited like improvement of the service, where we move away from a lot of PowerShell. So a lot of customers were complaining about, okay, we have a lack of management effort. We must do a lot of PowerShell, and with the management console, the Azure portal integration, we move to the ARM object model, which you know from all the other Azure portal services, and that creates a lot of extra management effort as well, more GUI, as well as more automation from building like your complete like workspace tenant, your Windows Virtual Desktop environment, completely from A to Z from the Azure portal, as well as through Azure ARM automation templates. So all those things are being addressed like in the upcoming months, as well as over the upcoming years, to make a physical and a virtual PC as close as possible in terms of management, and as well as all the other extra features that you get for physical and as well for virtual PCs. So great momentum, and if we look at, as I said earlier, at the past as like different services in the past, this is definitely because Azure and the Windows team and the Windows Virtual Desktop team falls under one organization right now, and that creates in-depth collaboration and more capabilities in making features available that are fittable in like a physical and a virtual desktop. That's a new great like momentum that is happening inside Microsoft, and that raises up the question again. If like maybe 2020 will be the year of VDI, right? That's something that is happening every year, and I think Brian Madden started that conversation. I don't know, probably 15 years ago. But just to make the comparison between VDI and desktop as a service. So as I explained, desktop as a service is like a managed service. That control plane, that front end service is all managed, maintained for you, and basically automated, pre-built for you. And VDI is basically traditional, like virtual desktop infrastructure. And that I from infrastructure is not the infrastructure that you need to build. So it's a cloud service. So that's why I think that this or next year will be the year of desktop as a service, or Windows Virtual Desktop, because that's a desktop as a service solution. So let's rephrase that quote and make it like the year of DAS, of Windows Virtual Desktop.
Yeah, I don't think it's the year of. I think it's the decade of. So it's sort of the decade of DAS, right? And in fact, if you look at technologies, they don't roll out in a year; they roll out in a decade. Things change in the tech world in about a decade, right? 80s were hardware, 90s was operating systems, right? 2000s were cloud and cloud services, and now the 2020s or the 2000s was cloud and building up infrastructure and mobile, also mainly mobile, and then the 2020s are more cloud services, right? Everything becoming a service and connecting via this infrastructure called the cloud.
Improving the things that we did in the past, and management effort, making that easier. making that change and
That's why
making
it can't
lives
be.
easier. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's why
definitely.
to me it can't be a year. It has to be a longer period of time. I mean, of course, you can say, okay, this is the day it sort of switched, but it doesn't work that way. Knowledge doesn't work that way. Innovation doesn't work that way, right? The light bulb wasn't invented out of the blue. 5 different people were inventing it at the same time. Why? Because it was the next logical progression along the thing, and of course that took time to adopt and what have you, right? To be invented, to be perfected, and then to be adopted in mass. And I think that's why it's a decade. But
Y-
and it
Yeah,
sounds better too than the year, because that whole thing of the year of sort of drove a lot of people crazy. So the decade, it's like, oh, I can handle that one.
yeah. Then you can close it and start over again with a new technology,
That's
right? So.
exactly right. Exactly right.
So
Uh,
yeah, so yeah, we can talk probably for more hours about this specific topic. So one thing that I would like to mention as well is that so that control plane and that backend is one of the things that we simplify with Windows Virtual Desktop. But what we are currently doing as well is making MSIX, that's an application virtualization solution as part of Microsoft, which is like the next version big solution of AppV that we probably all know. And with Windows Virtual Desktop, we took MSIX to an like a solution that is like fittable and solves the challenges that you know from AppV on virtualization environments on like new virtualization environments, and that's called MSIX App Attach. And App Attach is basically the code name of the solution that we built next to MSIX to make that a containerized like application. So what we do with that technology is that we put the MSIX virtual application package into a VHD or VHDX, and that VHDX will be mounted to your session on the fly without installing the application on the local image. So the great thing that you accomplish with that is that you don't have to do pre-caching of your application, which you probably do currently on like a writable disk in your current VDI environment. But you can just do it on the fly. You store that application container, that MSIX app attach application on like Azure Files or Azure NetApp File Storage, which is like a PaaS service as well on Azure. And pre-caching doesn't have to be done, and that application is mounted as a read-only read-only container, and that means is that you cannot do any changes, but your profile container from FS Logics will capture the user-specific data and make that like possible to roam to different sessions. But the great thing about that application container is that you can do it on the fly, so you don't have to do an image update and reboot your machines or log off every user or something like that. And the great thing about that is that you only have one application container that you can update on the fly and as well mount to different virtual machines in your environment. So you can just have one application container, one VHDX or VHD, and mount it to multiple session hosts, multiple Windows 10 virtual machines, and use it from there. So it's a very efficient way to do it and to simplify image management as well in your environment, as most of the customers still do as part of VDI, like a pro survey results, are doing image management manually by installing applications inside an image, promote that image, new version, reboot all the machines, and then log on back to your machine and have that new version of that image, new version of the application, and then all of a sudden after an hour, customers or users are complaining my application is not working properly, and then you need to revert all those servers again and do the work basically all over again. And with this technology, you can just do it on the fly for one application. You can create different versions of it as well, and you only affect like basically one user, and that's the next big like motion in simplifying from an like desktop as a service perspective as well. The image management process, the application delivery process is part of that. So that's another great thing that is coming up, that's available now as a public preview, but that will integrate completely inside that new management portal that is coming up next month.
I love it. I love it. Christiaan, thank you so much for taking the time to share all this with us, and of course for the long conversation we had. So it's always a true joy to chat with you. You're a good guy,
Yeah,
as I like to say.
likewise, though.
So on that note, I'll just say thank you again, and I look forward to having you back on. You keep saying we can talk forever, so I might take you up on that offer.
Yeah, let's do this on a regularly basis, like every month or something,
I would
because
love
the technology is evolving very rapidly, and new things are added to the service, and new services are being released. And yeah, definitely worth chatting again, probably in the next 2 months from now. So let's put that as a new challenge target after this call.
We could do that. We could have a WVD update.
Yeah,
Monthly
something
update or
something like that.
Yeah, quarterly updates with Christiaan Brinkhoff, right?
Talking with Douglas Brown from Berlin, with a Dutch guy with a German back last name.
Okay, my friend, you take care. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What else do I say? Absolutely awesome. Thanks, bud.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, one more thing. So next Tuesday, there's a Windows Virtual Desktop virtual event as well, which is called Microsoft Meets Community, and a lot of Microsoft MVPs are speaking there. So if you are interested in that, it's on the 28th of April, starting at 12 o'clock GMT +1, like Amsterdam time. So if you're interested in that free event, all online, you can register through aka.ms/WVD event 2020, and hope to see you there. So let's use it as a closing note.
Perfect. And I always ask if people wants to learn more, but I forgot about it. So if people do want to learn more, what do they need to do? And of course, you have a great site too, so maybe you can share those resources real quick.
Yeah, so if you want to learn about Windows Virtual Desktop, I get that question a lot. So currently there are no certifications available for Windows Virtual Desktop, but that will probably change in the future. But right now that's not possible. So if you are keen to learn, there are a lot of great community platforms. I have my website as well, christiaanbrinkhoff.com, that lists a lot of great walkthrough articles, and as well some articles with a summary of all the Microsoft resources that we provide. So please have a look over there. There are some other great initiatives via Twitter and LinkedIn. So if you just look me up on Twitter at Brinkhoff_C, or just on LinkedIn, and you follow me, you will definitely see a lot of great resources coming on your timeline, and learn from there. So that would be my my great 2 cents on educating yourself.
Great. Christiaan, thank you so much again, and we'll call this a podcast. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, thanks. Have a great day, man. Bye-bye.
Okay, that concludes another episode of DABCC Radio. As always, I want to thank my guest for today, Christiaan Brinkhoff from Microsoft. What a great guy, and it's always fun to chat with him. And yeah, what do I say? I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for taking the time, Christiaan, to come on and share with us. And I'm not joking. After we finished the podcast, we weren't joking. After we finished the podcast, we might do something, maybe a couple months, or when there's something new, bring him on the show and just let him explain it to us, right? As I always say, you guys know it. There's two types of people: the people you lead along and the people you get out of their way. And Christiaan, as you ask him a question, get out of his way and let him educate you. Let him educate us. So great stuff, great guy, great, amazing WVD. So what do I say? On that note, thanks to each and every one of you guys for listening to DABCC Radio. If you like it, please tell a friend. We are back. As you can tell, there's more and more podcasts. I actually have another one scheduled in just a couple days, and I'm going to try to get a bunch of people. If you guys would like to be on the show, please let me know. Email me, brown@igl.com or dbrown@dabcc.com, or direct message me on something and to say, Doug, I want to be on the podcast show. And you'll probably get a very positive response. So if you don't, bug me. But what else to say? I'm just rambling. But you long-time listeners know I'm a rambler. I'm a rambler and a gambler and a sweet-talking ladies and man. Is that how the song goes? Something like that. Stay well, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to DABCC Radio.
DABCC?
DABCC.
Say it again. DABCC.
DABCC.
Can you say it again? DABCC.
DABCC.
How about DABCC?
DABCC.
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 DABCC.